What's up, Hyperdrivers? Today I'm pretty excited because I get to start a new project today. It's been a while since I've been able to get to one of those because my garage has been totally stacked with boxes. But I finally got all that stuff in storage. I got some space again so I can actually do a little work. So next year, MegaCon's coming around in February, and we got a lot of actors showing up there. We got Hayden Christensen's gonna be there, Ewan McGregor, Tamora Morrison, Anthony Daniels. A lot of Star Wars actors are showing up, and I wanna get some signatures. Now, normally I get this stuff subbed out, but I wanted to try to make my own plaques this year. And my new friends over at Algo Laser hit me up to check out their new Delta 22-watt laser engraver machine. And they sent it over to me to try for this project that I'm gonna be working on. So this is really, really cool. I've never used a laser engraver before, so I know absolutely nothing about this process. But this thing's supposed to be able to engrave wood, stainless steel, plexiglass, lots of different materials, and you could even do color laser engraving, which is really neat. Not something I'm gonna do for this project, is because this is what I'm trying to make right here. Something like this is what I'm looking to make. So this is what we're gonna be doing. But for now, we're gonna set this machine up and I'm gonna try out the materials that it came with, because it comes with some steel little cards, it comes with a piece of wood and plexiglass to try to engrave to, just so that I can get familiar with the product. And then I'll place an order for some of the actual material I'm gonna use to create the project. So let's get downstairs and check this thing out. So I got the Delta all put together and it was pretty straightforward, very easy to assemble. I didn't film myself doing that. There's plenty of other videos on how to assemble this thing. So just know that the instructions are really easy to follow and you can put this together. Now, one thing that was not in the instructions was proper settings on the substrates. So there was no settings that you can use to dial in for the material. So I imagine this is a trial and error type of process where you're just gonna mess with the settings until you get something that works. So that's what we're gonna do here. Now, I noticed that in the actual settings on the laser engraver itself, you have the options to choose wood or metal or plexiglass or whatever material you're going to use. So I think that it kind of dials it in at that level. And we're going to be using a USB design that I created for this particular one. You can actually get more dialed in results if you use the laptop and then the software that they suggest that you download. But I'm not going to go through that process in this video. So that's what we're going to do. This is the substrate I'm going to try first. It's like a birch wood that we're going to be working with. And I'm going to try this Hyperdrive logo that I have. And we'll see how that works. Let's try it out. All right, so I got the first design done. Check it out, Hyperdrive. It came out real good, actually. I like how it looks. You can actually feel the texture in it, which is dope. So it was engraved pretty deeply. And I like the color on it. It came out real good. It's not too burnt, which looks really good. I like the design. One thing, though, is I could have sworn the design was a little bigger. I didn't check the sizing when it went in. I just, I sized it in Photoshop, and I figured that's what it would be. But it doesn't look like it's the right size that I put it in for. Also, I don't know how to actually center it on this big, design here, this big piece of wood. So that's something else I gotta learn. The next one I'm gonna try is the Medina Lorian logo. I'm gonna put that on plexiglass and see if I can't get the sizing correct, and then also the centering. So let's give that a go. All right, so I'm all done. There is the plexiglass one. Now this one, I know I made the logo bigger. I don't know why it came out so small. Also, it's not centered at all. You can see that it's centered this way, almost. I tried using the laser to give me a guide on where to place the substrate, but it didn't work out for me that way. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. Maybe making it bigger might work. I don't know. We're gonna try again with the wood, and I got a different design called the Hyperdrive logo, my classic logo, and then it's gonna have like a Mandalorian face on it. So let's try that out and then see how that looks. All right, this looks pretty damn good. I like the size anyway. It's absolutely not square. That's a problem. But it is centered. I like that. It's a little bit centered from top to bottom and left to right. I think that improved. I still am not completely happy with it, especially since it's not square, but I love the way the design came out. It's got a nice even color throughout it, and you can feel it in the wood, which I think is really cool. So I know that I can absolutely cut through this wood if I wanted to, and you can see the thickness of that right there. So this looks good. I'm gonna try again the plexiglass. We're gonna do the Medina Lorien logo. We're gonna make it bigger now that I can see what the sizing is, and see if I can't get that one more centered. Let's go. All right, this is actually looking a lot better. Again, it's not very square. It needs to be a little more square, but I'm getting closer. And it's definitely more centered, which I like. And I love how it comes out on this black plexiglass. It's got a nice matte finish to the text, and then you got that gloss all around it. So it gives a nice contrast, which looks great. But man, I still got to try this centering idea. What I got left is the metal cards. So we're gonna try some of those metal cards and see how that comes out. And maybe I can get it centered on that. Maybe probably should have started with that first, but you know, I like jumping into the larger pieces first. I got a preoccupation with size. So. But anyway, let's go get the card. We'll check that out. All right, so my first two attempts at the card failed. The card is very, very flimsy and skinny. You can see how it was way off center. I couldn't even get it to center up on the card, so I don't know exactly where I need to put the laser to start in order to make it work. So this is not working out for me. The other problem I had too, you see that one there, is the heat. It warps the card altogether. So the settings that come right off the bat with it are definitely not what you want to hold on to. I'm definitely gonna have to play with the settings a little bit just to get it to not bend and flex on me. When the air pump is blowing, it kind of just blows the card around and it just messes up the whole thing. So I'm gonna need to probably put like a double-sided tape on the back of it or something just to keep the card steady. All right, so I'm gonna have to figure this out. I really don't know what the solution is here, but you know, we'll see what happens. All right. So last night I had an epiphany, I had an idea. What if I was to take and cut a template first? So my idea is this. We take and we create the image that you want to cut inside of your substrate, but then before you get started in, cutting it, you take and create a perimeter, an image, your image box, the box that surrounds your image, and that's what you cut first. That's what I'm gonna cut first. So my idea is we're gonna go there, we're gonna cut the actual perimeter of the image, and then I'll be able to place a substrate in there, allowing me to square up. And then when I go and tell it to go and cut the actual image, it should create a centered and square image to the substrate. So let's go downstairs and give that a try. All right, so here we go. Right now I got the template being cut like I was talking about, and I'm hoping what I'm gonna do is put the card in that place, allowing me to get a more centered and square image on the card. So hopefully this all works out.
A few moments later.
All right, finally a success. Check that out. Centered logo, looks really good. The settings may have been a little bit too low. I mean, I cleaned it up pretty nicely, but I think I could have gotten a little more cleaner metal look to it. You could feel the engraving in the card, which is nice. It didn't deform the card too much anyway, because this is very thin, so I don't know how to make it so that the card doesn't deform like that. Maybe it's just a process of laying it flat or something, but I don't know. The card didn't move around. I used double-sided tape on the back to keep it sturdy on this case, and then engraving the wood beneath it so that I had an actual place to set the card to, centered it up, and made it so that the design came in perfect, which that is what I was looking for. So now all we gotta do is wait for the metal cards to arrive tomorrow, I hope, and we'll give that a try. So, but at least I got a success, so I'm happy about that. All right, Amazon delivery just arrived, and I just got in the new stainless steel cards that I want to use for this project. And for one, I'm super excited already in the level of thickness. It feels like a much weightier card than these substrates that they provided, these little stainless steel aluminum flimsy cards that they provided with the engraver. So these are nice, but like a jackass, I ordered the wrong size. So the signature cards are actually bigger. You can see much bigger than these cards. So these aren't gonna work for what I wanna do with this. I found some other cards, and unfortunately, I can't find this specific size available pre-cut. So I may actually have to get these custom cut for this idea when I'm finally done. But I did find on Amazon ones that are just a little bit longer width-wise and just a slight smaller in height. So they may actually work for me at the end of the day, but we'll see what happens when we get there. Still kind of excited to try this material out and see what this engraver can do to it. So let's take it downstairs and try it out. All right, so I got my my template so I could place the plate next to that and see how that's gonna look. So let's get this thing up. There, you can see it a little better. All right, new cards in place. I got the laser engraver set to where it needs to be. And let's give it a go, see what happens. See, engrave, and next. Let's go. And it has begun! All right, so overall it's a general success. I tried a couple of different cuts. So first of all, we got the one that I started out with, right? That's this one right here. You can see it's got really sharp lines. It looks really good in my opinion. And it's got a nice color to it. There is a little bit of a wave to the texture in the letters that I noticed. It's not something you can feel, but it's definitely something that's visible when you take a look at it. But otherwise, I think the contrast on the stainless steel and then the black lettering came out really good. Now, because of that, I tried it another way, and I tried to do, so this one here I cut at 80% power and at the highest quality settings and the lowest speed. So it did pretty good. It didn't deform the card, and I think it did a really nice job. But I wanted to see what would happen if I ran it in a double pass. So this one here was 2 passes at 100%, and everything else exactly the same. So highest level settings, and then also at a slow speed. All right. So on this one here, I could definitely feel the texture of the letters against the smoothness of the card, so I could actually feel it a little bit better. In comparison to this one here, you can see that it's the one on the left is just a touch darker, but because of the double pass that I did on it, the smaller text I think is not as sharp as this one. So I'm gonna probably wanna go with maybe 100% power and slow speed, but then just keep it at a single pass just so for smaller text to remain nice and sharp and clean and legible. As you can see, like on the F and the E's on this card here are just a touch sharper. So that's something that I noticed. But now we're gonna have to wait for the other cards to come in, which is gonna be a couple of days to see how that will perform. It's gonna be slightly thinner than these. I think the card depth on that one is 0.4 millimeters versus 0.8 millimeters. So it's gonna not be as thick or heavy as this card. So I'm probably gonna have to mess with the settings again. But we'll see how that performs when we get to that point. Otherwise, still pretty happy with this.
Eventually.
All right, so it's been a few weeks, and the cards actually came in a week and a half ago, but I've been back and forth with their support team trying to figure out a solution to the heat disbursement problem that I'm having. The cards tend to warp when the laser hits it. So their suggestion was to take and use a heat gun to prep the metal so that it doesn't go into shock when the laser hits it and then causes the metal to crumple up like that. So I'm gonna give that a try. I also saw a few other videos of people that have the device, and they have this honeycomb base that they place the metal on top of, or the substrate on top of, and then I think it allows the heat to disperse when the laser's hitting through it. Also, it allows for you to be able to cut through the material. So if you wanted to cut a shape out of something like this or out of wood or something like that, you could as well. So I'm gonna try the heat gun solution, and we're gonna try to go ahead and use this card. I'm not completely happy with the material on it. I don't know if you guys can see it, that this is the bad side. This is the side that you wanna cut to. You have to peel off this material, but Just this side here alone looks like crap to me. I wish that they would cover this as well and just make both sides nice, but it's just the way this is. I'm gonna have to find a better metal for this idea, a better card. But anyway, let's go and cut this final test and see if I can't get the results I'm looking for. All right, so another 2 fails, and I'm starting to feel like this may not be the way to do this. Let's go over these 2 problems. I am going to give it one more go, and hopefully that'll be the way. But so the problems I'm having is, one, again, the heat disbursement on this metal. It wants to warp the card around. So you take and you turn up the air pump, which causes the card then to blow around. So you have to use double-sided tape or some kind of tape to keep the card down and in place. The problem with that is that this tape here that I'm using is too strong. So it's making the card, stick to the board, and then when I go to peel it back off, the card's just bending as I'm peeling it off. The other problem is that when you print these small lines, like these lines that border around where the signature part's going to be, the machine moves a lot more. It seems to do a lot better with text and in lines that are horizontal versus lines that are vertical. Lines that are vertical cause the machine to take and do a little jig like this. So you have to have a really good table or really or a lot of support on the sides, something to brace it from moving too much to get a more straight line. And when I tried to brace it while it was in the process of printing or engraving, it made the line jump, and you can see that it bounced right there on the edge, which that sucks. I don't know if it's coming through. Yeah, hopefully you can see it. Which that sucks. And the same thing happened again on this one, on the second attempt. This time I tried to use regular tape, which seems to work a little better when you're peeling it back off, but it's also leaving residue on the back of the card as well, which I think I'm going to have to take and clean. So let's give it one more attempt. Hopefully this is the one that's going to work for me, and I'll give you my thoughts on it.
20 minutes later.
All right, so I finished up the final engraving, and I'm happy to say that I'm really happy with the results. This came out pretty freaking good. It's clean. I like how the lines came out. Is it 100% the best that I could do? I don't think so. I think I could get even better than this, but as it sits right now, I'm pretty happy with the results and how this came out. It's got everything that I want for the signature card, and it looks pretty good. My goal was to get to this, and the results, I think, are pretty close. It's not exactly the same. I don't think that the engraving solution for these signature cards is probably the best idea. It's probably not the way to go with this. This, I believe, is done through printing, and I think you get much deeper blacks this way. Also, you don't have that issue with the heat disbursement that tends to warp the card. So that's something that I feel either I need to do some more testing with, maybe buying that additional honeycomb base that you put this thing on to be able to disperse the heat is possibly the solution. I definitely need to find a better solution for adhesive to be able to keep the card in place as I'm cutting it. But at the end of the day, for somebody that doesn't know anything about this, I think I got some pretty good results and something that I'm going to be happy with bringing to Ewan to sign. Plus, I like the versatility that it gives me, because I can not only just do these engravings like this, but I can cut out signage. You can take and do color engraving, and there's just a lot more that you can do. Even with the accessories that are offered, you can do even more stuff, like being able to engrave to like bottles and glass and stuff like that. So lots of neat things that are capable with this machine, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me for this project video. I hope you guys learned a few things through my mistakes, and until next time, may the force be with you.